Yeah, that's kind of what I realize is a lot of life. Like sometimes I have ideas that sound good, but it's just like, yeah, you're just like not that passionate about it. It just isn't gonna happen. But then when I am passionate about something, then I do make it, and it's sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's hard. It's sometimes hard to like discern which thoughts are good thoughts and or helpful thoughts.
Yeah, there's a ton of things. I agree completely with what you just said. Like,
Yeah.
there's a ton of things you're like, oh yeah, man, that'd be really awesome. If I just have to do this little much work, I'm all in. Like, that sounds sweet. But you gotta do, like, a lot first. And, yeah. Then you find out something sweet, and you like it yourself then. You know, like for you to get to people, like, to start come climbing with you.
Uh huh.
A lot of them are like, like, if you come pick me up or whatever, you know, like,
Yeah.
they don't want to go unless, and they're like, oh, this is kind of sweet, like, I'll just keep going. Like,
Yeah. All right, I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah. When you start a new task, there's like a frustration gap that's really hard to conquer.
uh-huh.
Like a gap of time where you're trying to do this task and you're just really incompetent and like hurts your ego, it frustrates you.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think the best way to look at it is when you're a very beginner is also when you'll make the most gains. Like usually, like you should at least,
Yeah.
or like in the first like 6 months or whatever. So like instead of like being frustrated that you can't do things, be excited that oh sweet, I get to do something I couldn't do last time. Like you know what I mean?
For
Whereas
sure,
like
for sure.
people at a tip top level, it's like 6 months before they can do something new. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's kind of it keeps it interesting, I think, to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah,
It does.
It's a much
But-
healthier perspective.
Yeah, but easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I was thinking about a lot when I was living in Mexico, we lived on this hill, and running up the hill at a full sprint took about like 40 strides. So that's however long it was. I have no clue. And it was like a pretty steep incline, and it really sucked because it was like medium incline, and then the last like little bit was the steepest incline ever. And so I would run like 5 sets of 5 sprints up this, and as I'm walking down, the ocean's in the background and the sun's out, and it's just a beautiful day. The wind's blowing, it's not
Wow.
too hot, and so what I really started to try to do was that moments where you're just like so out of breath, and like you normally, or in the past, what I've done is try to think about how good it'll feel to finish the event and be like, I'm almost there. It's gonna feel so good once I'm done. I've just tried to be more in the moment and be like walking down, being like, I'm completely out of breath right now, but this is kind of what it's like to be alive too. This is kind of
Yeah.
what it's like just to get everything up and moving, you know,
Yeah.
like, and to try to enjoy it. Actually.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think some people would call that masochistic, but I would not take that stance.
Yeah,
But I can see why it would be interpreted that way.
it was pretty sweet. I would wake up, have a lot of coffee, smoke weed, and then run up this hill.
Wow.
It was a sweet schedule.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
intense. I guess that's quite the energy boost.
I think that's good that you strive to like have new experiences. I don't think that's something that we're taught to do. We're just taught to like get in line and
Yeah, that's
sit at your desk in school and not really have new experiences.
yeah, I really
Everybody's a stranger. Everybody's to look out for.
yeah. Like last night when we were walking Izzy and like you just see almost every single house, and I mean I'm guilty of this too, has like the security system. I mean it's just like really we live in this like small community and like in a nice suburb, and we're all just like scared of like you know.
Yeah.
It's
See, I was just gonna say technology is like amazing and brings a lot of strides, but it also disconnects people in some way.
definitely yeah. People
Is-
are
You can just substitute technology for pretty much anything,
yeah, especially
not human contact.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very true thing. But then like it also does connect people, so
Yeah, it connects.
It wor- it-
It
it
makes
works both
connections
ways.
where there would have not been connections before.
yeah.
It gives
Which is
people
amazing.
a much wider variety of options. Like that. That's the most.
Yeah.
important thing,
Yeah.
You know, like if I was born 3,000 years ago, I would probably know 25 people. And those are like the people I know in my life, and that's
Yeah.
it. And it's like, it's very possible that those 25 people really suck, and you're just like,
Yeah, but you would just get
Nice.
used to them.
but like,
Also, you would suck too then.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no opportunity to seek out like-minded people before like there is today, and that's gonna. I think that alone is gonna have a huge positive rallying effect in coming years.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
But at the same time, how many people are there sitting at their computers, like talking about all this cool stuff, then doing nothing?
Us?
Yeah. Like, and I think a lot of people as well.
Yeah, but I mean, again, there are so many people. We're just not the people that are. I mean, we can do some amazing things. I plan to do. I feel like I've already done some wild shit, but I want to do some amazing things in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't have to do everything.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just saying the dangers of technology and what to watch out for potentially.
Yeah,
It's super addicting.
yeah, this is true.
We just need more honest conversations about it. That's pretty much the answer to everything, but in particular.
Yeah, but because we're in this technology, like we're not in a time like I remember you brought up the Renaissance a few days ago.
Yeah.
Like you said, people, like everyone's just a huge family, and everybody's just taking care of each other, just popping out kids. Oh, he'll be taken care for.
Yeah,
Like,
for the record, I believe that was the Renaissance. I'm not 100% certain.
yeah, but I
That happened at a point in history, though.
Wait,
Yeah,
tell me
I'd
what,
like to hope
what
that
the
that
story
was the
was
case.
here.
Like everybody just lives together, and it's like it's not like, oh, there's my brother. It's just like, oh, we're all just people, and like, you know, people just have sex and kids happen, and then they're all just getting raised. Like you don't know who your parents are. You're just
This
yeah.
was the Renaissance. When is the Renaissance? I do not
like
know history.
14th to 17th century, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, if we were living in a time like that, rather than technology, everybody's at their computer at home, you can't really have honest conversations too much, because you're only subject to your own what you choose to be your reality. But if you're like living as a community and everybody's like connecting together in physical form, then you can have those honest conversations. But like you said, right now we're like everybody's disconnected. Everybody has security on their homes. Everybody's not really trying to connect with each other.
Yeah. At the same time, though, like, I mean, it's just a function of like how society is currently run. People are constantly going places to do things, and not like doing things where they live, which is how it definitely used to be. You just like grow a garden or
I
whatever.
think a large majority of people stay where they live and they have their job there.
People work out of the home. You're saying?
No, they work at. I mean, they live at home and they travel to their job, which is not too far from home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Uh huh.
Like, when you're at home, everybody like loves to just. I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people in our society just, you know, they have they just fall to their desires. I mean,
Yeah. Because they're not hanging out with their community.
yeah, self-control is not like a strong player in the world right now.
Yeah. People with problems, if they just live with, like, if people were living more as a community, maybe a bunch of those problems could have been stopped before they got.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm
bad.
saying. Instead of never being home, it seems like what I think would be sweet would be to just primarily be home, but have home be a much different setup than just a house on a street.
Yeah.
And then you could have a lot of other people that are also home with you.
Yeah.
Everyone's home.
People need to become a little more connected in order to make some changes.
Yeah. Yeah, it really. I mean, obviously, I'm like very optimistic and hopeful kind of guy, but it does kind of seem absurd that so many people live so close to each other and not like. I don't know. I guess in apartment buildings, that's a thing. Like, you convene at the beginning or end of the month or something and just everybody sees who's living around them and they just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not a thing
But
out here.
do people have honest conversations with each other, or do they have
Well, I don't know.
anxieties because this is a new situation for them, and then they're not going
I
to
don't
ask
know. I
these
mean,
tough questions?
everybody's
They're going
different.
to talk about the weather.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of shit is taboo. And yeah. Like I was gonna mention, when I was at the airport a couple weeks ago, I realized like, oh, this is one of the few times that I'm actually interacting with people that are just like, you know, completely random to me. I guess poker, but you know, we have the common interest of poker. At the airport, you're going somewhere. That's a much wider range.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was phenomenal how just like phony all the conversations that people would just have.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about this earlier. A lot of words and language just seem unnecessary. For example, like. I mean, that's one that I'm guilty of using a lot.
You mean using as a stutter, pretty much, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're in between two thoughts and trying to phrase
Exactly.
them together. Everyone has words. Like everyone needs a word that does that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, I don't think
Not
everybody needs
necessarily.
it. I think it's just I think it's because we're in some way we're moving too fast to realize like what we're saying.
Yeah, and what we should be saying.
What
I mean, I think you
it's
should...
hard to say what should happen.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you should not try to suppress things in your subconscious, and you should like, get your feelings out into word form and talk about them with people.
Yeah,
Talk-
that's always proved to be pretty helpful for me.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting the amount of time between you thinking something and like the decision to say it out loud or whatever, or like how it's communicated to people. Like, as you're just saying now, like sometimes you can be in such a hurry that you'll like have a Freudian slip, or you'll just say something that you don't mean, or just whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then there's, you're saying slow down your thoughts, whatever. A big part of technology that I think people are really drawn to and like so much is that with text messaging, you can write your message, look at it, and be like, oh, this is not very smart, and then write something different if you say something stupid. Whereas when you're just talking, sometimes you're going to say really stupid stuff, and people are going to laugh at you, and that's just the thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I'm thinking that's not maybe the greatest thing because then you don't learn. You just
Perfect example. When we were in Toronto, I bet Chewy that I could name how many people that I had met.
like 400 people in the poker
No, it
world?
was way more. I think it was like 1,000. Basically, I asked Chewy how many people he thought he had met in his life and could say their first names. And Chewy said something like,
I think I said like 1,000-ish.
I think you actually said less. Like,
Oh, okay.
but whatever.
Yeah.
And I said like 15 or 20,000 or something like really, really high.
Yeah.
And I bet on it. I bet like 3 meals on this because I was so sure. And I was just off by so much. I don't know why. And it's an example of I was just perfectly comfortable having an honest conversation with my friend, and I just said the first thing that comes to my mind, and my God, it was wrong by so much. Like, it just wasn't even close.
You're coming at me, dog.
But do you think that's a good thing that we're like more filtered now? It kind of is, but it kind of is dishonest in a way too.
No, but that same mind that you're using to like talk to people and have Freudian slips and be all jumbled up is the same mind that you're using to like browse Reddit and look at constantly a new thing every second, like just constantly shift your attention up. I think that's why I think a lot of people are too sped up in their mind. Wouldn't you agree, or were you just talking about slow down? Like, what were you saying there?
Say it again. Sorry, I'm pretty stoned here.
I was just saying how people are too sped up in their mind and they need to slow down. But like you were talking about people making mistakes, like making Freudian slips and just like being too going too fast.
Uh-huh. I think when you slow down, you certainly seem to instantly realize that whatever task you're currently preoccupied with is just a lot easier than you were telling it yourself in your mind. Like
Yeah.
when you're rushing to get somewhere and like, oh, I got to get all this done by 5 o'clock and it's 4 o'clock now and I got to do this, this, and this. And if you just like slow down and you're like, well, right now I'm at a red light and I'm just sitting here in a car. It's pretty comfortable. The air conditioning's going. There's a decent song on. I don't really mind it. And yeah, if I'm 15 minutes late, my friend will yell at me and be mad. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like okay, man, things are pretty good right now. Like you know what I mean? Like right now, things are pretty good, and
Yeah.
we're so most all unhappiness is because we're so worried about how bad things are going to be once something happens.
Yeah.
But we
Or
don't
how bad
realize-
things are that something already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things are always, for the most part, like for 99% of life, things are just pretty amazing. Like,
I mean, this came up the other day, but we are obviously biased, like, hugely.
yeah.
But, I mean, I guess a lot of people listening to this also will be. Who knows?
But yeah, still people like just an average person can, like you said, just slow down and just be in that moment. All the extra anxiety and emotion attached to that car ride with worrying and anxiety, that was unnecessary. That
Mhm.
didn't need to happen.
Yeah. A lot of people don't look to change. They don't like change. That's why a lot of people fear death, I think.
Oh yeah.
Change is just like a daunting thing for most people who aren't used to it. And yeah, I guess I'm real happy that I embrace change.
This is a very broad question, but how have you found is the optimal balance of gratitude for what you have and being born and, in this year when we have like just tons of cool stuff and life's pretty good, as opposed to like work ethic and wanting to like do a good job? How do you
But I don't.
do you understand?
I don't totally see how they're that related. I feel like I can be both pretty grateful and have a good work ethic.
You mean like take advantage of what you've been given to too much of an extent?
Indulge.
Okay, here, say there's a person who just is super well educated and well off, whatever, and he has a good life, right? How much of this person's energy should they focus on helping the real less fortunate get to a higher level versus pushing the very top to the highest peak? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting moral question.
That
And I
is
don't
a
at all
question.
put myself in the very elite by saying that. I'm just
Yeah. I think different people just are gonna inherently do one or the other when they're in a certain situation. I feel like it's just based on circumstance. It's usually going to be a better idea for one or the other. Not necessarily that they're like what we would see from our perspective as the right decision. I don't think it'll always get made by any means, but
I think a lot of people do both. I think most people do both, because,
yeah, I guess like by helping out.
or at least they give the image that they do.
Yeah, but yeah, both is definitely
And I
considered.
think like you kind of, as a part of your human nature, in your conscience, to feel like at ease a little bit. If you're fortunate, you have to kind of spread that fortune, because like there are people who are less fortunate who didn't receive that fortune.
Yeah, but I don't think that like human nature is not a thing that applies here. I don't think. Like
No,
okay,
no. Well, you don't think humans are like kind of inherently good and want to help other humans?
I think they are, but a lot of times, I mean, you can walk into fortune if you've had like a really shitty life, based on one of your elders passing away, and not be a giving person.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I didn't say that those people don't exist.
Oh.
Yeah, they do.
I thought you were just saying like if you have fortune, you'd be likely to want to share it. I mean, a lot of people like
I would
get a lot
hope
of.
to think that. I'm not sure if it's true though.
I mean, a lot of people acquire a lot of things and then just aren't that willing to share. I don't know. I mean, it's always got to be both, right? In the end.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you want to balance that with your own enjoyment of life. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just a very intricate question that's very interesting to look at. Like, how much of my focus do I want to allocate towards making sure I enjoy this? How much do I want to make sure I'm helping the people around me? How much do you want to make sure, you're helping whatever you can, whatever your talent is, pushing ideas forward? Like, it's very interesting, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
I think it's like at the center of most moral philosophy. And I think we can't usually talk about it openly because religion has clouded so much of the talk of morality. But I think it's something that should be discussed, quite frankly. I think you should, when you're young and they introduce spirituality into your life in some way, it should be about like questions like that.
Yeah.
And present that as, hey, this has no answer, but there's lots of cool ways to think about it and look at it. Let me show you some, and you tell me what you think. Like,
Yeah.
that should be a class in school, I think. For
That would be awesome.
a young grade.
It's
Yeah.
so constructive.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can be done with school.
Yes.
A lot of, like, ideas that can be put in kids' heads that are beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
I think school, like, it just basically has to change. It's just, yeah. And the system is just not that great. A lot of the teachers just don't seem that incentivized to do a good job once they get tenure. And as time goes on, more and more teachers have tenure.
I think that's very true. But I think technology might be solving it independent of teachers. Some episode of the Rogan podcast I was listening to the other day, they were talking about how there are some schools now where they all have iPads instead of books, and they just like download their books onto the iPads.
I mean, that's very helpful, but you still need a good teacher.
Yeah, but like every lesson plan is so like can be so refined now. Like they can figure out like when one teacher or one class produces like every kid in the class just like aces, the tests at the end.
Yeah.
They could be like, oh, what's this teacher like? He must be doing something right. Just look at it, copy it. Like this, it shouldn't be that difficult. I feel like it
I mean,
is.
but
I'm
sometimes,
taking-
sorry, I was just gonna say that sometimes, like, getting the best grades on tests is not like the best.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
produces the best result actually in the world. Like, just being able to memorize stuff. I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but I thought of this interesting idea
Uh-huh.
of school being outside, and you have you randomly put the kids in a line, like facing the teacher in front, and randomly chosen, and every other person is given like a sheet of what the lesson is, and they have the lesson there, and they teach every kid teaches the person to the right of him, and you basically do that, and then you make sure that every kid learns basically, because
But they all teach each other.
yeah, they all teach each other, and then after that you gave them sufficient time to teach the kid to the right of them, then you take the paper and you give it to the other kid, and then see if he can teach the other kid.
I think that's a really, really interesting idea. One quick thought on what I was thinking as you were saying it.
Yeah.
As you started, your hypothetical got crazier and crazier. You're like,
Yeah.
take them outside. Give 50% of them the lesson plan. I was hoping in my mind so much. I was like, man, I hope he's trolling us by creating the most absurd hypothetical right now. Like, it's just going to go off and off and off. Anyway,
All
back
truth,
on track.
all truth.
That's
Sometimes the best ideas right now were at one time absolutely absurd to the common man.
Yeah.
I mean, that works in theory. It
I think
it
the one.
alienates kids who probably aren't very good at it, though, and just
No,
struggle
but just in
with that.
practice, like just being outside, just like have more connecting. Like, don't just put the kids inside and like they want to like move around and like
Yeah.
they're stubborn. It needs to be more of
I think
more of life involved in school.
I think outside school is definitely a good idea. I think one downfall with this particular idea is that you're trying to have a kid teach another kid something that he doesn't know yet. Like, he's not going to be able to speak very confidently about it unless he's just reading off the page.
No, but sorry. I forgot to mention that the teacher who gives the the page to the kid, as they give the page to them, the teacher to each kid teaches them what's on the page, and like, so he basically telephones it to the next kid.
Oh, okay, yeah. That could be sweet.
Could be.
How long has it been?
It has been 55 minutes and 17 seconds.
You guys want to call it? I'm pretty hungry.
Okay.
I was also super hungry, but then I just powered through, and now I have a lot of energy.
Oh, cool.
We should kind of explain what it is, I guess. Since we
Oh,
just had
yeah.
this conversation.
Let's do an intro.
I'm Asani,
I'm Andrew.
I'm Steve.
and this is just a conversation we decided to tape and call a podcast because we thought it might be cool. And we're thinking about names, but I don't know. What are we thinking about?
I think we should call it Think Again.
Think again. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I think that could be a working title.
Okay.
For sure. And if the audio quality sucks, that's totally Chewy's fault.
I will take all responsibility
He
for that.
introduced himself as Andrew, but I call him Chewy.
Yeah.
So that's his real
Most
name.
people probably know me as Chewy, to be honest.
But yeah, it's all his fault because we're outside. But it's awesome outside.
Yeah, it really is awesome outside.
Yep. All right. See you next time.
Peace.